They called me a nobody while slicing into duck breast I paid for. I'm Harper, 41, once a commander. Now just Harper, to the people who forgot what I gave up to protect them. It was supposed to be a birthday dinner for my brother, Lucas. A rooftop reservation, linen napkins, and wine that cost more than my boots. They all laughed, toasted, and nudged each other like I was a guest at someone else's celebration. Then Lucas raised his glass and said, "To those who lead the charge, and those who follow along and somehow still get lost." They laughed again. My mother smiled too long. My father didn't even look up. But the room went still when a man in full navy dress walked in. Polished shoes. Shoulders like granite. He scanned the table. Didn't even pause on them. Walked straight to me. "Commander Harper," he said, voice sharp, eyes steady. "The Pentagon requests your presence." "Ma'am, it's urgent." "So much for being a nobody. Ever been edited out of your own story by the people who were supposed to write it with you? Hold on tight. This isn't just a comeback. It's a reckoning." I came back that winter, carrying a sea bag and a medical report they all pretended not to see. No balloons. No hugs. Just frost on the windows and a spare key under the mat. No one knew where I'd been. No one had asked. My father had arranged a small welcome dinner. He called it that, but it felt more like a favor to my mom than a celebration. He invited his golf buddies, most of them former military from decades ago. Old uniforms and older stories. Lucas was there, crisp in his Air National Guard dress blues. 5 years in. 2 desk deployments. They acted like he brought down Bin Laden himself. I stood near the coat rack. No name card. No greeting. Aunt Marie motioned toward a folding chair by the sink. "Sweetie, sit over there. That's for the civilians." I slid into the chair, tucked behind the appetizer tray and a stack of napkins. Behind me hung a wall of frames. My father during Desert Storm, Grandpa in Korea, Lucas at his OTS graduation. No trace of me. "Where's my commissioning photo?" I asked my mom during cleanup. She didn't look up from the sink. "We were rearranging. That wall was too crowded. We'll find somewhere else for it." It had a place. Right there. I pointed. She shrugged. "Maybe something more recent next time." Later that night, during awkward coffee and cake, someone asked what I'd been doing. Before I could speak, Lucas jumped in. "She used to be in operations or something. Now she's just traveling or maybe teaching yoga." Hard to keep track. Everyone chuckled. Not cruelly. Casually. Like my career had been a rumor they'd once heard and mostly forgotten. I excused myself to refill my glass. A retired Navy chief intercepted me. "Harper, right?" he said. "Strategic evac out of Manari Province? That was you." I nodded. 12-hour window. "We got them out." "Hell of a job," he said, and gave me a small nod of respect before walking off. One man remembered. In a room full of forced forgetfulness, that nod was oxygen. The next morning, I walked into the den. Same furniture. Same dusty corner cabinet. My father's medals were displayed inside, next to Lucas' framed commendation. I wasn't expecting to find anything of mine, but my eyes scanned anyway. Old habits die hard. There was a space. Not quite empty. Just dust-shadowed. Like something had been removed. I opened the drawer below. My Annapolis commissioning frame was still there, but the photo was gone. In its place was the stock image it came with, an unfamiliar face in uniform, smiling blandly into nowhere. That afternoon, Lucas announced his promotion dinner. Private dining room. Full honors. "Base command will be there," he said, beaming. "They'll even hang my photo in the entryway for the week."
Cool, right?
Mom clapped. "Oh, Lucas, that's wonderful. Harper, maybe wear something simple? Don't want to pull focus." I nodded. I'd once briefed Joint Operations Command under fire, but apparently my navy blouse was too bold for chicken parmesan and champagne. That evening, folding my clothes into perfect stacks, old habits again, I got a message. No name. Just. "They're reopening Manari. Files flagged. Your name's on the inquiry list. Watch your back." It was the mission that ended my career. The one they let unravel. The one I took the fall for. I walked into the den again, found that empty frame, still sitting there. Still blank. I ran my finger along the wood where my photo used to be. They didn't burn it. Didn't shred it. Just removed it. Like I didn't match the rest of the decor anymore. At Lucas' promotion dinner, I wore a black dress and a military cut coat. No insignia. No pins. Just posture. Quiet, firm, trained. The officer at the check-in didn't recognize me. "And you are?" Before I could reply, Lucas appeared beside me. "She's family," he said, smiling for the camera. "Used to do admin or something. She's just here to support." He gave me a side hug. It landed like a mosquito. I didn't flinch. I was trained not to. My seat was at the far end. No card. No introduction. Just a napkin, half-filled water glass, and a view of the podium. Lucas took the mic, spine straight, voice calm. "I want to tell you all something," he said. "When I was younger, I looked up to someone who told me, leaders don't follow, they walk first. That someone was my sister." The room chuckled. She didn't mean it as advice. She was annoyed I followed her around, he added, smirking. They laughed politely. A charming anecdote. I was his punchline. Then the door opened. A man in full navy dress stepped in, decorated, serious, carrying a leather portfolio stamped with a Pentagon seal. He scanned the room. Didn't look at Lucas. Didn't glance at Dad. He walked straight to me. He saluted. "Commander Harper."
"Ma'am."
"The Pentagon needs you back."
"Now."
Silence. Forks froze mid-cut. Napkins paused mid-dab. My father blinked. Lucas' mouth opened and didn't close. The officer turned to the crowd. "This woman orchestrated the containment breach recovery at Manari. 37 personnel made it home because of her, including me." No one moved. I didn't smile. Didn't rise. Didn't need to. Later, as people filtered out, a young lieutenant approached me, wide-eyed. "Ma'am, you're really her?" I looked him in the eye. "One time, I gave an order not to engage. Protocol said we could. But there were kids inside the zone. I chose consequence over compliance. You tell me, what rank does that earn?" He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I left the dinner without goodbyes. No hugs. No comments. It didn't feel like vindication. It felt like silence finally making room for truth. But I knew this wasn't over. Because while the spotlight flickered toward me for a moment, someone out there was already working to shut it off. The next morning, I woke to an email that rattled my breath right out of my chest. Subject: Urgent. Manari After Action Report Inquiry. From Military Investigative Affairs, OIG. It read, "A classified review of Operation Manari has implicated multiple field commanders in potential violations involving unauthorized civilian engagement. Your name appears in several reports. Please confirm availability for questioning." The mission didn't fail. It was sabotaged. I flagged corrupted intel. Warned chain of command that the data stream had been spoofed. I was the only one who did. And when everything fell apart, they needed someone to blame. That someone was me. I didn't panic. Didn't cry. Instead, I texted Sarah. She was a systems analyst once. Brilliant. Blunt. She also owed me her life. Manari evac, third chopper out. Find out who accessed the files, I wrote. Someone's trying to bury me all over again. An hour later, she replied. The leak came from your brother's base network. Guard-issued device. IP signature links to an account used by Melody. Melody. My sister-in-law. Married to Lucas for 6 years. Guard reserve. Admin staff. Always polite. Always smiling too hard. I stared at the screen. Rage didn't hit me right away. It came slowly, like a wave creeping under the door before the flood. I drove straight to their base. No appointment. No call. Just credentials and fire in my chest. Melody met me in the parking lot, jaw clenched like a fist. You accessed my records, I said. She didn't deny it. Just stood there, arms folded. I was tired of hearing your name whispered like a legend, she said. Even after you left. Even after they erased you. You still had gravity. You leaked a doctored file to federal investigators. Her mouth tightened. I didn't change the file. Just made sure someone read it. You know it's false. She hesitated. I didn't care. I just wanted you to stop overshadowing everyone. I looked at her. Not like a rival. Not like an enemy. Just like the woman who once asked me to pin on her stripes because she said I inspired her. I know what it feels like to be invisible, I said. But I never made you that way. She said nothing. Later that night, Sarah called. We found something, she said. There's audio. A buried file from the Manari Ops room. The original command feed. She paused. Then, it's Vaughn. General Alan Vaughn. Central Command. The one who signed off on the intel I flagged. The one who shook my hand and told me to stand down after the mission cratered. The audio was grainy, but unmistakable. Civilian presence confirmed. Risk acknowledged. Proceed with protocol. My voice followed. Request delay. We have 2 unarmed children on visual. Awaiting further. Negative. Proceed. Sarah sent me a backup. Labeled, Unauth chain briefed, MP3. If this goes public, she said, Vaughn's finished. We met that night at an abandoned comms hub outside town. She plugged in a secure laptop and ran a trace. But he'll come for this, she said. They always do. The next morning she was gone. I called her cell. No answer. Texted. Nothing. I drove to her apartment. Door unlocked. No sign of struggle. No USB. Just a single sheet of paper on the desk. It read, You think you're the only one who remembers how war works? Underneath, a stamp, black ink, shaped like a jackal skull. It was the insignia of a disbanded Black Ops unit. Not officially recognized. Not officially dead. I sat in the silence, realizing this wasn't about a bad mission, or even revenge. This was about silence, about keeping it. I needed help, real help. I called Barrett. Colonel Isaac Barrett, retired, decorated, man of few words and absolute resolve. He was also the one who saluted me at that rooftop dinner like the room hadn't just spent 20 minutes pretending I was a rumor. He picked up on the first ring. I need you, I said. And you need to hear something. I played the file. He didn't interrupt, just muttered, damn. Then said, You still got allies, Commander. We met in Arlington 2 days later. Not in some dark alley, not on a base. In plain daylight, in a bookstore cafe, surrounded by tourists. He laid it out. You want the truth out? You need a platform. A place they can't erase. I need a wire, I said. And a witness. That's when Melody showed up. Uninvited. She sat down across from me, hands folded, voice low. I found the deletion logs, she said. You were right. It wasn't a system error. Vaughn accessed the archive and pulled the audit trail. I narrowed my eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I thought burying your story would help me find my own. It didn't. I said nothing. She pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. No tricks. Just backup audio. Redacted segments restored. I'm not going to erase you again. We didn't hug, but for the first time, I believed her. Together, we planned it. A military summit was coming up. Vaughn would be speaking. Melody had credentials. Barrett had access. I had the recording, and a fury I'd been sharpening for years. The plan was simple. She'd go in wired. I'd wait. We timed it to the second. Vaughn took the stage in full dress, voice booming across the conference hall. He smiled, told stories, made jokes. Then he slipped. Every mission has risks, he said. Civilian proximity doesn't negate objective. You assess, you decide. You proceed. He thought it was off the cuff. Harmless. But we had the match. Word for word. Barrett signaled. Then the room's speakers crackled and played Vaughn's exact phrase, clipped from the Manari recording. Civilian presence confirmed. Risk acknowledged. Proceed with protocol. Gasps. Silence. Phones raised. Eyes locked. He froze. just for a beat. Then security moved.
No scouting.
No chaos. Just quiet, practiced efficiency. They escorted him out like someone removing poison from a bloodstream. Melody stood at the edge of the room. Wire still live. Pale, but steady. Barrett turned to me, voice low. That's how you turn truth into thunder. The fallout came fast. Faster than I expected. Within 48 hours, headlines flooded the feeds. General Vaughn under investigation following leaked audio. Commander Harper identified as whistleblower in Manari cover-up. Pentagon launches emergency review of civilian engagement protocols. Some articles got it wrong. They called me retired. They called me a former logistics officer. As if that title wrapped me up neatly in a filing cabinet labeled irrelevant. But others used my rank. Commander Harper, tactical lead, intelligence liaison, survivor. Still, I didn't celebrate. Because the silence I'd lived with for so long wasn't gone. It was just broken. And broken things can still cut. Melody and I were pulled into internal review sessions. Polygraphs. Depositions. Hours of sitting in chilled conference rooms while people in sharp suits asked the same question 5 different ways. Why didn't you come forward sooner? I answered the same every time. Because the people in charge weren't interested in the truth. Only the version that kept their stars shining. They asked Melody if she was coerced. If I'd manipulated her into planting evidence. She laughed, short and sharp. I'm the one who tried to erase her, she said. And she still told the truth. They paused. Wrote that down. Eventually, the inquiry reached its conclusion. Vaughn's security clearance was revoked. He resigned quietly, without a press conference. The kind of exit reserved for those whose fall from grace still deserved dignity. I didn't get dignity when they pushed me out. Just a letter, a final paycheck, and silence. Now the silence was theirs. A week later, I was offered reinstatement. Full rank. Commander. Back pay. Even a promotion path if you want it, said the man across from me, some deputy undersecretary with a pristine lapel pin, and no idea what Manari smelled like. I looked at the folder in his hands.
Polished.
Formal. I don't want the title, I said. He blinked. Excuse me? I want the truth. That's it. And I already have that. He tried again. You could train others. Rebuild your legacy. My legacy doesn't need rebuilding. Just room to breathe. He looked disappointed, as if I'd ruined a clean solution. But I knew better. They weren't offering redemption, just containment. I left without the folder. Instead, I took a job back at the academy, teaching a new class, moral intelligence in operational command. Not part of the standard curriculum, but they let me build it. Day 1, I walked in. No ribbons. No salute. Just a whiteboard and a stack of case files. I didn't tell them who I was. Not right away. I told them stories. Real ones. About what it means to lead when protocol breaks. About the weight of silence. About making choices no one claps for. They listened. On the 4th day, one cadet stayed behind after class. Quiet kid. Smart eyes. Ma'am, he said. That story about the evac. You were talking about Manari, weren't you? I nodded. I read about that mission. They said the lead commander froze. I held his gaze. They lied. He nodded slowly. That's why I'm here, I told him. To show you what truth sounds like when no one else wants to hear it. Later that week, Melody visited. She'd resigned her commission. Said she wanted something real. I joined an independent watchdog group, she said. We audit internal military records. Hold people accountable. The work's messy, but honest. We stood outside the academy gate. Wind biting. Silence stretching. I can't undo what I did, she said. I don't want you to, I replied. She blinked. You don't.
No.
I want you to remember it. Every time you chase down a buried report or flag a falsified log. That's the only justice that matters. We didn't hug. We didn't need to. 2 months later, we visited our childhood home. Our mother opened the door with that same 2-practice smile. Inside, everything looked the same. Carpet worn at the corners. Kitchen clock still 2 minutes low.
But one thing had changed.
On the mantel above the fireplace were two photos. Lucas in his new guard dress. And beside him, me. In my Navy uniform. Annapolis graduation. The one that had gone missing. Mom caught me staring. I found it in the hall closet, she said. It belonged up there. No speech. No apology. Just the photo, returned to where it should have always been. Sometimes healing doesn't sound like violins. It sounds like quiet corrections. That night, Melody and I sat on the back porch, legs curled up in old chairs. I used to think courage was all about volume, she said.
Shouting.
Charging. Being louder than fear. And now? I asked. Now, I think it's about endurance. Holding your truth when no one's listening. I smiled. She wasn't wrong. At the academy, my class filled up faster each term. Word spread. Students said it was different. Harder. Better. One left a note on my desk after finals. Commander Harper, I used to think bravery was a medal. Now I know it's a choice. I kept it. Framed it actually.
Not for ego.
For grounding. Because the truth is, not everyone who serves gets remembered. Not everyone who fights leaves with medals. Some of us leave with silence. With erasure. With wounds we can't show on charts. But those of us who choose to speak anyway, we become something else entirely. Not commanders. Not whistleblowers. Witnesses. And that matters more than rank ever did. They tried to erase me. That was the part that kept coming back. Not the missions. Not the trauma. Not even the betrayal. Just that, being deleted. Cropped out of my own legacy, like a smudge on glass. But silence has a half-life. Truth doesn't stay buried forever. And ghosts don't forget the walls that made them invisible. A month after Vaughn's resignation, I got a call from someone deep inside Joint Strategic Intel. She didn't give her name. Just said, "You have no idea how close they came to making it all disappear. You were one person away from being erased for good." Then she hung up. I didn't call back.
Didn't need to.
I already knew. Because the system wasn't broken, it was designed that way. And people like me? Were not supposed to survive it, let alone speak out. But I did. And now my voice wasn't just mine anymore. One of my cadets, Andre, top of his class, stopped me after a lecture on operational ethics. "Commander, do you think whistleblowers are traitors or patriots?" I looked at him. "I think they're mirrors. And people don't always like what they see." He nodded like that answer made sense in a way textbooks never could. Weeks passed. Then months. Melody's watchdog group uncovered 3 more buried reports. One tied to Vaughn's old unit. Another linked to a training exercise misfiled as joint readiness, but hiding a civilian mishap no one ever claimed. The third, well, that one was personal. It traced back to the same command channel that overrode my call at Manari. Different mission. Different continent. Same voice authorizing an unacceptable risk. Vaughn wasn't a single bad choice.
He was a pattern.
A chain of denial wrapped in gold braid and framed plaques. Melody forwarded the findings to a congressional oversight committee. They scheduled a hearing. Quietly. Behind closed doors. I wasn't invited to speak. But I sent in a letter. Not bitter. Not loud. Just detailed. I wrote, "You don't have to believe me. You just have to ask why someone with everything to lose told the truth anyway." They read it into the record. A reporter leaked a snippet of the transcript the next day. Just one paragraph. My name started trending again. Not for scandal. For integrity. But I stayed where I was teaching. Quiet.
Present.
Because this story was never just about me. It was about what happens when the machine forgets the humans inside it.
Lucas reached out around that time.
A text. "Didn't handle things right. Just wanted you to know I see it now." I stared at the message for a long time. Then replied, "Seeing's a good place to start. We didn't meet up. No coffee. No cathartic reunion. Just peace. And sometimes that's enough." Mom sent me a box 1 week later. Inside was my original commissioning photo. Not a copy. The actual print. Corners still worn from the frame. Taped to the back was a note. I didn't know how to explain myself. So, I'll let this do it for me. No signature. Didn't need one.
I held the photo like a flag.
Not one you wave, but one you plant. Because here's the thing about being erased. The scars stay. The gap between who you were and who they let you be, it never quite closes. But you learn to build from it. Speak from it. Teach from it. One of my final lectures that spring was titled Command Decisions, The Quiet Cost of Compliance. I asked my cadets a question. If a direct order violates your conscience, and the room is silent, what do? Some gave textbook answers. Report it. Escalate. Seek guidance. One cadet, Jasmine, second year, fierce, raised her hand. You remember who you are before they told you who to be. I didn't respond right away. Just nodded. Slowly. After class, she waited by my desk. You think it's worth it? She asked. Speaking up. It's not always safe, I said. Not always clean.
But yes.
It's worth it. She looked at me with a kind of certainty only the young can afford. I want to be that kind of officer. You already are, I said. End of term came fast. Students filtered out. Evaluations submitted. Desks cleaned. On my last day, someone left an envelope in my office. No name. Just 4 words on the front. For the quiet ones. Inside was a medal. Not military. Handmade. Carved from wood. Etched on the back. You made silence speak. I stood there for a long time holding it. Then I walked to the bulletin board in the hall and pinned it beside the course syllabus. Didn't explain it. Didn't have to. The people who needed to understand already did. Melody called that evening. We got a new file, she said. Unredacted this time. Confirms everything we thought about that joint exercise. Congressional Subcommittee is launching a formal review.
Good, I said.
You'll be mentioned. I can live with that. She paused. You okay with being public again? I was never trying to hide. I just wanted the story told right. And now it was. 1 page at a time. By the people they once tried to silence. That summer, I went back to the academy to sit in on a new lecture. Different instructor. Same course. Moral intelligence. She began class with a quote. Not mine. But close. Courage isn't the moment you speak loudest. It's the moment you choose not to be silent when it would be easier. I smiled. Watched the room of young faces, thoughtful, alert, maybe even hopeful. And I thought about the dinner. The steak I paid for. The room that mocked me. The toast that dismissed me. And the man who walked in, uniform sharp, voice steady, and said, Commander Harper, we need you. I didn't go back to being a nobody after that. Because I never was. They just weren't looking. Now the photo's back on the mantle. The name's back in the archive. And the story? The story belongs to me again. If you've ever been sidelined by your own people, told your voice was too much, too inconvenient, too loud for a room built for whispers, don't shrink. Don't disappear. Make them remember. Make them listen. And, most of all, don't let them rewrite your truth. You were always somebody, even when they forgot.